The origins, 1899 to 1929. Predating tiki-taka, the iconic Camp Nou, and even the era of Lionel Messi, there was a group of football-obsessed expats in Catalonia. In the year 1899, a Swiss businessman named Joan Gamper placed a simple ad in a local Barcelona newspaper, searching for players to form a football team. That small act sparked the birth of what would become one of the most legendary clubs in sports history. Football Club Barcelona was born at a time when Spanish football was still in its infancy. Back then, the sport was a novelty, and most matches were friendlies or regional competitions. Barça quickly began making a name for itself by competing in the Campionat de Catalunya and the Copa del Rey, Spain's premier cup tournament before the formation of La Liga. Their first major success came in 1910 when they won the Copa del Rey, a trophy they would go on to dominate in the coming decades. But even in its earliest years, Barça wasn't just about football, it was about something deeper. It became a cultural institution, representing Catalan pride, language, and identity at a time when those things were under threat. The club's motto, Més que un club, more than a club, wasn't marketing, it was a mission. By the time La Liga was founded in 1929, Football Club Barcelona was already a powerhouse. They didn't just participate in the inaugural season, they won it. But while that marked a major milestone, the real story was just getting started. The Republican era and Franco's shadow, 1930s to 1950s. The 1930s were tumultuous for Spain and devastating for Barcelona. Political tensions reached a boiling point and the Spanish Civil War erupted in 1936. That same year, Barcelona's club president, Josep Sunyol, a known supporter of the Republican cause and Catalan nationalism, was executed by Francoist troops. It was a clear message. This club wasn't just playing football, it was defying authority. Under Franco's dictatorship, Catalonia's language and culture were brutally suppressed. Even the club's name was forcibly changed, from Football Club Barcelona to Club de Futbol Barcelona, stripping it of its English and Catalan roots. The club crest was altered and the Catalan flag was removed. But in the face of repression, Barça endured. The Camp Nou wasn't just a stadium, it became a cathedral of defiance, a place where Catalan could still be spoken, sung, and shouted in unison. On the field, the 1940s and early 50s still brought success. Barcelona won multiple La Liga titles and dominated domestic competitions. One man stood at the center of it all, Laszlo Kubala, a Hungarian refugee who signed with the club in 1950. Kubala's flair, creativity, and versatility turned Barça into box office gold. He wasn't just a star, he was a pioneer. So popular was he that the club needed a new stadium to handle the demand. Thus, in 1957, Camp Nou opened, Europe's largest stadium and a symbol of Catalonia's defiant spirit. While Real Madrid began their march to European glory in this era, Barcelona remained the emotional heart of Spanish football. The Cruyff player era, 1973 to 1978. In 1973, Barcelona made one of the most significant signings in football history, Dutch maestro Johan Cruyff. Fresh off leading Ajax to European dominance, Cruyff came to Spain not just as a player, but as a footballing philosopher. He arrived to a city starved for success and identity. In his very first season, he lit up La Liga, guiding Barça to a 5-0 demolition of Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Still one of the most famous wins in El Clasico history. That same season, they won La Liga for the first time in 14 years. Cruyff wasn't just a playmaker, he was an orchestrator. His intelligence, vision, and swagger elevated everyone around him, and he introduced the concept of total football to Spain, a style that emphasized fluidity, versatility, and tactical awareness. He only played 5 seasons at Barcelona, but the cultural seeds he planted would define the club for decades. The Dream Team era, 1988 to 1996. 15 years later, Cruyff returned. Not to play, but to manage. And once again, he changed everything. Appointed head coach in 1988, Johan Cruyff began building what would come to be known as the Dream Team. He introduced a possession-based style, developed La Masia into a talent factory, and turned Barça into a footballing juggernaut. With stars like Ronald Koeman, Hristo Stoichkov, Michael Laudrup, Romario, and a young Pep Guardiola running the midfield, Barcelona won 4 consecutive La Liga titles, from 1991 to 1994. But the crowning achievement, the 1992 European Cup final at Wembley. Barça beat Sampdoria 1-0 thanks to a thunderous free kick from Koeman. It was the club's first European Cup, confirming their place among Europe's elite. Cruyff's time in charge ended in 1996, but his legacy never left. The post-Dream chaos, 1997 to 2003. After Cruyff, the club entered a period of identity crisis. Dutch manager Louis van Gaal was brought in to maintain the philosophy, but struggled to unite a divided dressing room. He brought in a wave of Dutch players like Patrick Kluivert, the De Boer brothers, and Edgar Davids. Though he managed to win 2 league titles, the team lacked chemistry and fan support began to fade. The football felt more mechanical than magical. Meanwhile, Real Madrid were thriving with their Galactico project. And for a while, Barca had no answer. By 2003, the club was at one of its lowest points in modern history, 6th in the league, deep in debt, and with a fractured identity. But then came change. The Ronaldinho Renaissance, 2003 to 2008. In 2003, Joan Laporta was elected president, promising a return to joy. His first marquee move, signed Ronaldinho. The Brazilian didn't just lift Barcelona, he resurrected it. With his dazzling dribbles, elastic feints, and constant smile, Ronaldinho became the symbol of a new era. Under Frank Rijkaard, and alongside stars like Samuel Eto'o and a teenage Lionel Messi, Barca won La Liga in 2005 and 2006. The pinnacle was the 2006 Champions League final in Paris, where Barcelona came from behind to beat Arsenal 2-1. It was their second European crown and a reminder of the club's global might. But success came with distractions. Ronaldinho's form dipped, the team's discipline eroded. By 2008, the magic had faded. Yet behind the scenes, something even more magical was being built. The Pep Guardiola dynasty, 2008 to 2012. In 2008, the club made a bold decision, appointing Pep Guardiola, then manager of the B team, to take over the senior squad. His first act, offload Ronaldinho and Deco. His second, build a team around Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi. What followed was possibly the greatest team in football history. In Guardiola's first season, Barca won the treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and the Champions League, beating Manchester United in the finals. From 2009 to 2012, they won 14 major trophies and played a brand of football that left the world in awe. Tiki-taka wasn't just passing for the sake of it. It was control. It was dominance. A philosophy born from Cruyff and perfected by Pep. The 2011 Champions League final, another win over United, is widely regarded as one of the most flawless team performances ever seen. When Pep left in 2012, he didn't just leave behind trophies, he left behind a system that changed the sport forever. The MSN era, 2014 to 2017. After brief spells with Tito Villanova and Tata Martino, Luis Enrique took charge and assembled a front three for the ages: Messi, Suarez, Neymar. Together, MSN, in the 2014-15 season, they scored 122 goals and won another treble. They blew past Bayern Munich in the Champions League semis and beat Juventus in the final. Their chemistry was unplayable, their peak unstoppable. But this was also the beginning of instability. Neymar left for PSG in 2017. The board struggled to replace him. Transfer decisions became erratic, and Messi, though still brilliant, was forced to carry the weight alone. The decline in Messi exit, 2017 to 2021. Barca still had Messi, but everything else was falling apart. They collapsed in the Champions League year after year. Roma in 2018, Liverpool in 2019, Bayern Munich in 2020. Yes, that infamous 8-2. Behind the scenes, Josep Bartomeu's presidency was a disaster. Financial mismanagement, poor recruitment, a ballooning wage bill. By 2021, the unthinkable happened. Due to La Liga's financial rules, Barcelona couldn't register Messi's new contract. He left for PSG in tears. It was more than a player leaving. It was the end of an era, the end of the greatest career ever seen at a single club. The rebuild and youth renaissance, 2021 to present. Post-Messi, the club looked lost, but Joan Laporta returned as president, and Xavi Hernandez, the midfield general of the golden era, took over as manager. The mission: restore identity, rebuild smartly, trust La Masia again. Pedri, Gavi, Alejandro Balde, and Ansu Fati became the new core. Add veterans like Robert Lewandowski and signings like Joao Felix, and Barca suddenly had a path forward. In 2023, they won La Liga under Xavi. It wasn't flashy, but it was foundational. The team was young, hungry, and disciplined. It's still a work in progress, but make no mistake, Barca are climbing back, one pass, one press, one project at a time.